In this video, we are going to introduce Koine Greek first declension nouns. We have previously introduced second declension nouns, and we'll do a bit of a recap on second declension nouns as we press into first declension nouns. So by way of reminder, Greek is a highly inflected language, unlike English. That is to say, words, and specifically nouns and verbs, will change their form to indicate information about that particular word. So with respect to nouns, what is the subject? What is the object? What is the indirect object? What is the possessor in a sentence? Changes not based on word order, not where it appears in a sentence, but based on the ending of that particular word. In English, we can't really do this at all. We are very an uninflected language, and we depend on word order to make sense of a sentence. So, for example, in English, apostles see people. We know that the apostles are the subject, the ones doing the seeing, because they come first. And we know that people are the object, the thing being seen, because they come after the verb. If we switch these around, if we simply switch the words around, people becomes the subject, those doing the action. See is the verb, and then apostles becomes the object because it's after the verb. In Greek, the same words can appear in the same word order, apostoloi, blepusen, anthropous, this being the nominative case in the second declension, meaning apostles, this being our present active indicative third person plural verb matching apostles, indicating who is doing the seeing. So they see, the they is the apostles. If we were to mark this sentence, it would look like this. Excuse me, that's not a good rectangle. Rectangle, line, and circle for the object. And we know this is the object because of that us ending. So it's going to be in the accusative case in the plural. So it's a masculine accusative plural, indicating that it is the thing seen. Apostles see humans. If we retain the same word order, but change the endings of our two words here, anthropoi can be the subject of the sentence in the nominative masculine plural. So humans see, still same exact verb here, but apostles become the accusative object by having that us ending there. So once again, in Greek, word order is flexible and meaning is made based on the way that words inflect, because Greek is a highly inflected language. Nailed it. All right, so some grammatical basics. This is a bit of review here. A case is what determines the noun's grammatical function in a sentence. So we just sort of overviewed that with respect to those sample sentences. The nominative case is the subject of the sentence, the one doing the action of the verb. The genitive case is showing possession, usually with our English word of. So your sort of key English word for the genitive should be of for now. That will change in the future. Dative is the indirect object, the thing sort of one step removed from the action of the verb. So Dr. Elder teaches Greek. Greek would be the direct object down here in the accusative to the students. The students would be the indirect object. In Greek, they would be in the dative case. So Greek nouns also have one of three different grammatical genders: masculine, feminine, and neuter. The second declension nouns are normally associated with the masculine and the neuter, and the first declension nouns are normally associated with the feminine. So most first declension nouns are going to be feminine in gender, whereas most second declension nouns are going to be either masculine or neuter in gender. But gender does not determine a word's function in the sentence. Gender has nothing to do with whether the noun is the subject, the object, the indirect object, or is describing something. And then lastly, number refers to whether it is one entity or multiple entities that are involved in the noun. So plural, of course, being multiple, and singular, of course, being one. So I already gave you the answer to this, but let's go ahead and do a very, very quick lecture pause here. Go ahead and pause and map the Greek cases once again back onto this sentence. Dr. Elder teaches the basics of Greek to the students. While you pause and do this, I'm going to pause and mark the sentence for us as well. So my marking is going to look something like this. The subject of the sentence is Dr. Elder. In Greek, this would be in the nominative case. The verb is underlined here as teaches. This would be a present active indicative, third person singular, if we were to parse the verb. The basics is going to be the direct object in the accusative. It is the thing most directly related to the verb, the thing most directly affected by the verb teaches. Teaches the basics of Greek is describing the basics, or the basics sort of belong to Greek in a possessive sort of way. And then to the students, so of Greek would be the genitive case, and then to the students would be the indirect object in the dative case. So a little bit more on grammatical basics with respect to declension. What a declension is, it's going to be associated with nouns. So when you hear the word declension, you should think noun, not verb. Declensions don't have anything to do with verbs. They have everything to do with nouns. And declensions are a pattern of how nouns change on the basis of their case and number, not on the basis of their gender necessarily, as we'll see in just a moment here. So Greek has three different declensions: the first, the second, and the third declension. We've already addressed the second declension. Those are nouns that end in omicron sigma in the nominative singular, like logos, and they're usually masculine. Usually is a key caveat there. And then they are also nouns that end in on in the nominative, omicron nu in the nominative singular, and are usually neuter. This is something like, I don't give you an example here, but ergon would be a nominative neuter form. And in a lexicon, or in a vocabulary list, the way that gender is going to be indicated is by the definite article, which we're going to talk about in a little bit here, after it. So when you see something like logos ha, this is going to be the masculine nominative singular definite article telling you that this is masculine. This is going to be what is called the neuter nominative singular definite article telling you that this word is neuter. So usually in a vocabulary list or in a Greek dictionary, you're going to see a word after it. This word is what's called the definite article. Again, we'll talk about that in just a minute here. And it's going to tell you the gender of the noun that it goes with. So second declension normally in the masculine or the neuter, with some exceptions. And then the first declension are nouns that end in alpha or eta in the nominative singular and are usually feminine. So we'll see some examples of these in just a moment here. There is a small class of first declension nouns that are actually masculine, and these end in something different in the nominative singular. They end in eta sigma or alpha sigma rather than eta or alpha, and that ending is what indicates that they are masculine rather than feminine. And also in a vocabulary list, they are going to have the masculine article after them. So for example, something like mathetes is the word for disciple, and it's going to have this after it. Notice how this matches this. This is the nominative masculine singular definite article telling you that this is a masculine word. So when we are talking about the forms of the first declension, this slide here might be a little bit overwhelming. I'm going to go away so you can see it a little bit better. This is the information that's presented to you in the textbook. And so we have the endings added on to the base form of the verb. So in the case of hemera up here, hemer is going to be our base form. In the case of doxa, dox is going to be our base form. Phone, phone is our base form. Mathetes, that mathete is going to be our base form. And then with neanios, neani, with the iota at the end there, is going to be our base form, to which different endings are added. So you see how the endings change or inflect based on their based on their case and their number. And you'll also notice here how these look different than those second declension endings that you have already learned. Once again, up here, declension does not directly correspond to gender. So these are all first declension nouns. These three over here are all feminine, but these ones over here are masculine. And notice what they end with in the nominative singular, that eta sigma and that alpha sigma, rather than just an alpha or an eta. And then again, in the vocabulary list, or in a Greek dictionary, you would see after this word a comma and then the definite article, either he, just the eta there, or ha, indicating the gender. So this is going to be the masculine definite article, and this is going to be the feminine definite article. So to simplify this a little bit more, or to give you some sort of basic rules, you're not necessarily expected to memorize these basic rules, but they are more for your reference of why you get either the eta or the alpha as the sort of vowel upon which those endings are made for the first declension. And these are all just the singular here, you will notice. So stems, that is, if the base root of the word ends in an epsilon, a iota, or a rho, you can expect it to follow those alpha endings. If the stem ends in a zeta, a sigma, a xi, or a psi, it's going to use those alpha endings for the nominative, vocative, and the accusative, but it's going to go to the eta endings. These are what are called the sort of like mixed first declension. This is called the pure alpha first declension. This is called the pure eta first declension. So stems ending in any other letter besides these ones are going to use this pure eta ending. And then the rules for the masculine over here, stems ending in epsilon, iota, rho, again, are going to use that alpha, and they're going to change for the genitive to the u, the masculine u, and this is so that there's not a confusion between the nominative and the genitive, because if we were to use epsilon sigma, again, it would be the exact same ending. So with the masculine, you get a variation right down here. The plural is the same, whether it is pure alpha, pure eta, or the mixed paradigm. So depending on what the root or the stem ends with, what letter it ends with, will determine whether it's using the alphas, the etas, or the alphas and the etas in a mixed sort of way. So when we put these into a sort of more simplified forms with respect to our first declension endings, these are going to be our basic endings, alpha or eta for the nominative or vocative singular, alpha sigma, eta sigma for the genitive singular, alpha with a iota subscripted, notice the little baby iota under there for the alpha and the eta, a nu after the alpha or the eta, and then the vocative is alpha eta again here. So sometimes you will see the vocative included as its own line in the paradigm, and sometimes it will be taken out altogether. For the masculine, we get very similar things here, except for a difference up here in the nominative and the genitive, and then the plural is going to be the same for both the feminine first declension and the masculine first declension. Using that I, using this own, omega nu, this is going to be very, very consistent. The genitive plural across the declensions is going to use this omega nu. We have ace. Once again, we've got this iota in there, this time not subscripted. So it's actually in the ending itself. One of the things that helps me here is that the smaller iota is singular. So singular is smaller than plural. And when the iota is large and it's actually in the ending, it is the plural. And then the accusative plural, alpha, sigma here. So a bit of trivia time here. The actress that played Xena Warrior Princess, her name was Asina Ionesas. That's not actually true. I made it up, but it's the mnemonic I use for the first declension ending. So you can see how Asina Ionissos, and here her name with Greek letters, is going to map onto our endings with respect to the feminine first declension in both the singular and the plural here. So sigma, the iota down there, the nu here, the alpha here for the vocative. And again, sometimes this vocative will not have its own line in the paradigm. So you have to sort of remember that or keep that in mind. So that's asina, I own. So I, then the own, O-N in English, omega nu, is, I-S in English, or iota, sigma in Greek, and then os, alpha sigma in Greek, and then A-S in English. So to put it a little bit cleaner here without my simple underlinings, again, we have asina, ion es os as our mnemonic for the first declension feminine endings. Just as with our friend Swain Ionessus, if this mnemonic is helpful for you, take it, run with it. Asina and Swain are going to show up throughout the course of the semester. If this is not helpful for you, if it's better for you just to remember the endings as they are added on, then forget about these two people altogether and just work on those, just work on memorizing those endings. And so this is where we are at so far with respect to declensions. There is another declension in Greek, the so-called third declension. We're not going to get to that for quite a while. So we have out there the two main declensions that we are going to be using for a while, and this is what their forms look like. We have our Swain Ionessus, our first declension. Our second declension's endings, and then over here also second declension in the neuter, remembering that the nominative, accusative, and vocative are different in the neuter than they are over here in the masculine. So we still have sort of Swain Ionessus going on, or you can use Swain Ionessus so long as you remember that for the neuter, the nominative and the accusative look exactly the same as one another, and the nominative differs in the neuter from that in the masculine, and in the plural it differs from both what you see in the masculine nominative plural and the accusative nominative plural as well, that we get differences from what's over here. And then in our first declension, we have our asina ionessos with the slight variations for the masculine first declension with respect to its comparison to the feminine first declension. So you get these slight differences, but you get this asina ion esas for those alpha endings. And then you also have to remember, when you remember that mnemonic, is that there are first declensions that don't end in alpha, that the pure eta endings have this eta here in the nominative, as well as down here in the accusative and the vocative, and also for their for the genitive and the dative, though you still do have that sigma and iota that is part of the mnemonic there. So once again, use the mnemonic if it's helpful for you. Don't use the mnemonic if it's not helpful for you.